the more perfect you do something, the less people are going to notice. Perfection, there's no potential in perfection. If something is perfect, then it has no potential to be greater than it is. I'm going to get philosophical on you here, so you got to stay with me. I hope that what I say, though, has some pragmatic utility for you. So, because if something is perfect, now number one, can something be perfect? We'll just assume there can be something. For something to be perfect, you need a prototype. So, you can only have a perfect thing. You can't have a perfect, irregular, amorphous, massive, ever-changing stuff. It doesn't work that way. In order for something to be perfect, there has to be a prototype. So you can have, in theory, the perfect woman. You can have the perfect car. You can have the perfect firearm. But as I'm going to talk about all of those things, once you've achieved perfection, if you ever could, which of course you probably can't, but the closer you approach perfection, the more boring and uninteresting things become. So take television, for example. YouTube came about because our culture longs for something raw. It longs for something real and natural and gritty and rough and not so scripted. Something which is just ever so slightly off script. That's why YouTube became popular. And you'll see even with the most popular YouTubers, they employ this tactic where they'll use really shoddy effects and, you know, the really cheesy memes. They integrate that, and it's anything but a slick production. I can tell you that the videos I've made that have taken the most time get the least amount of views. I've heard it said that when you're doing anything in life, 80% of your results are going to be coming from 20% of the work, and you're going to be doing 80% of the work for 20% of the results. Well, that 80% of the work that I do is for those highly edited videos, like the kayak video or the truck video. I had to go and shoot so many different angles with drones and all this stuff, and the more perfect it gets, the less people notice, because it becomes so seamless that your eyes and your ears just wash over it. And there's nothing for them to get hung up on. There's no jagged edges for your eyes to fall on and catch on and scrutinize a bit further. When you're watching a movie, just to make one scene of a modern movie can take hundreds of thousands of dollars. And people don't realize the makeup, the lightings, the set, all that stuff that has to go into making one scene, you know, one shot where the camera, that $25,000 camera, is parked in the corner of the cafeteria as the main protagonist walks in and the light's just shining perfect. You'll never notice that the camera changes 10 times in as many seconds, because we've been so conditioned to think that something like that should be easy, that we just sort of take it for granted. Take professional sports, for instance. Professional athletes make what they do look easy. You know, you see some Olympic diver doing a triple somersault, triple axel, whatever the hell it's called, off the diving board and landing without barely making a splash, and it doesn't even really look like anything. It looks so perfect that it's uninteresting. Just like if you see somebody who is struggling to get somewhere, struggling to get an achievement, they're exhibiting a lot of energy, they're exhibiting a lot of effort, and it catches people's attention because there's a struggle there. Whereas you get some guy who's been lifting weights his whole life, goes into the gym, picks up the 120s, shoulder presses it no problem, doesn't make a sound in doing it, and nobody really even notices because he makes it look so effortless. But then you'll get another guy go in there who really struggles and really is pushing and sweating, has got the headphones on and, you know, stomping, making a big scene. And I'm not against people doing that. I think whatever it takes you to get into what you're doing, but it's only in the escalation, it's only in the evolution of doing something that people take notice of it. It's like perfection. There is no evolution to perfection. Something which is perfect can't evolve any better. It makes that there's less potential in something that is perfect. In fact, there's no potential in something that is perfect, because it's already the best possible version of the prototype that it can possibly be. So this is why YouTube came about, and the irregularities and the aberrations of human beings, what makes us different from robots and the machine-like functions of technology that we have tried to emulate, that we've tried to achieve that. People are drawn to that because it's real, it's raw, it's authentic. Now with women, for example, you could have the perfect woman, and just going by conventional Western standards, the perfect woman, you know, big hips, big bust, small waist, perfect face, big eyes, all of those things. Now obviously beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I'm just saying by typical Western standards, this is not my perfect view of a woman necessarily. You know, perfect skin, no imperfections or irregularities whatsoever. And maybe even the perfect personality, whatever that is. You know how bored you would get with that? Even in a sexual way, how boring it would get? Personally, I think that would get old pretty darn fast. There's no potential in it. There's no realness to it. Another example would be things like cars. Like the nicer and cleaner your car is, and the more it just seems to blend in and nobody notices. But if there's one irregularity on it, if it's a little dirtier, if it's maybe a little older than the other cars on the road, if there's some modification that you've made to it, all of a sudden, you know, people notice. And even like billionaires, like nobody criticizes Costco or Walmart or even Donald Trump for being a business tycoon. But if you go on YouTube and you'll see all these small-time people who are not perfect yet as Walmart's business model, Costco's business model. They are very near perfect business models with how they operate. There's nobody protesting outside Walmart or typing hate comments on Walmart's YouTube channel, which I'm sure they have one, or Facebook or whatever. Maybe they are workers' rights, stuff like that. But generally speaking, nobody's criticizing the fact that they're trying to make money off of people using all of the typical marketing deceptions. Nobody criticizes them for that. What people do is they go on channels like mine and they criticize smaller business owners like myself who are actually trying to bring people good products at a good price, which are tried and tested in the field, and people's eyes don't just wash over it and they don't just assume it's normal. So there's something for them to get hung up on there and scrutinize even further. See, the whole idea of a good advertisement is that you don't even know you're watching an advertisement. Like there's a lot of advertisements you'll be watching, you'll forget that you're watching an advertisement. You only notice it's an advertisement when there's some amateur irregularity to it. Yet it's that amateur irregularity which usually speaks to the authenticity of the message. Take another example, the perfect firearm. What is the perfect firearm? Well, the perfect firearm never runs out of ammo. It is entirely silent. It is probably some kind of laser system where the time that it takes for a round or a beam or whatever to exit the chamber and hit your target is so small. It's like the smallest it could possibly physically be based on what we know of modern physics. It would be the most boring gun in the world. I mean, there would be no fun to it whatsoever, no recoil, nothing. You would just point, you wouldn't even hear a click, you would press a button and whatever you were shooting at would be vaporized instantly. There's no recreation to perfection either. There's no fight, there's no hunt, there's no journey to perfection. And perfection is literally pointless because there's no potential for it to go further. If you look at a point, and of course it's pointless, a point is like a stabbing, you know, it's like an object which stabs into the future, which is entering a new space. But a circle, something with no points, a perfect circle, is, which is a good band, by the way, one of my favorite bands. A perfect circle is, it's going nowhere. There's nothing left to be done with that. So where am I going with all this? I guess practically speaking, now we can all just say, yeah, don't try to be perfect. Perfection is impossible. That's the short of it. But if you have a YouTube channel and you're trying to be successful with it, I think the approach I'm gonna lean to more so from here on out is not trying to be so perfect with everything I do on the channel. There was a time when I invested immense amounts of time just to doing a simple $25 piece of gear review, just because I was trying to replicate the standard of modern television, which I can't replicate that. It costs tens of thousands of dollars for a camera like Praxis Prepper, who you should go and subscribe to. His videos just keep getting more entertaining. Go subscribe to Praxis Prepper. But I don't have the equipment that he does to make really high-end productions, and that's just it. You don't have to. PewDiePie is a great example. Uses all sorts of jagged-edged effects, and it's effective. It's engaging. It's hard to, like, I can go and watch a PewDiePie video. They're actually quite entertaining. I don't necessarily, I realize it's a total waste of my time, but what he does and how he structures his videos is actually quite genius, because it's doing something which you can't do on NBC or ABC, because people, when they enter YouTube, but increasingly less so, they're looking for a unique human-like experience. And YouTube may fail because it forgot what made it great. What made YouTube great was the gritty 240p camera video of the cat falling off the table, because that was real. There was an aspect of that America's Funniest Home Videos, you know, that's where that all started, the reality TV, you know, Survivor. But when it becomes so scripted and so high production, like is in the case of some people nowadays, it loses its allure. You got people like Casey Neistat who are amazing cinematographers, and they integrate their cinematography into their videos in such a way which is less than perfect. It's almost like it's nearly perfect, but it's slightly off perfect. So that's what creates that allure, and that's really the goal. You never want to make something so perfect that nobody notices. And that's just it. You make the most amazing video with all the best effects and the best angles, and people's eyes just wash over it. People's ears don't hear the perfect symphony because you can't hear it. That's like elevator music. It just blends in because it's so perfect. Or that Muzak, whatever they call it, that they play in stores. It's so utterly banal and mediocre in its perfection, what it delivers, that you just don't realize it. So the short of what I'm saying is, don't strive to be perfect. Strive to be unique, gritty. We're in a generation where people seek out pre-worn clothing, or they seek out stuff with a worn look. Like, that's how fake society has become, that we actually pay to have stuff that looks used, even though it's not really used. I mean, that's been going on since the 90s, since American Eagle opened their stores in the 90s, and they started selling all that pre-worn clothing stuff. Something I've never really been into because I'm more of a functional person. So anyways, those are my thoughts on the pointless perfection principle. I hope you found this video thought-provoking. I hope it was just less than perfect enough that you found it engaging and interesting and actually wanted to stick around and actually perhaps noticed some of the humanity in what I was saying. Because that's the whole thing, is that if something is perfect, it's completely inhumane. The perfect society, for instance, is totally inhumane. A utopia is necessarily inhumane because it implies that a system, a closed system, which can never be improved or expanded upon. Anyways, I could go on this stuff for hours and hours. Let's see the philosophers come out of the woodwork here on the channel and heat up the comment section. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I look forward to delivering videos from here on in that show that more authentic, real aspect of myself. Thanks for watching. Canadian Prepper out.
The best way to support this YouTube channel is to support yourself by gearing up through CanadianPreparedness.com or BugoutRoll.ca. Premium quality gear at the best possible price using the incredibly secure and easy to use Shopify platform. We offer free shipping to the United States for orders over $200 USD and free shipping to Canada over $75. So support the channel by supporting yourself.